There was something about this film that was very appealing. Besides me being a huge mark for Florence Pugh, she's great in, her in the Marvel properties as Yolanda, but she's close to our heart, right? Fighting with my family, with playing Paige, who we're going to talk about later, playing Saraya, sorry. I don't want any heat with her.
Get it right.
This is my name. I love Saraya, so I definitely don't want to piss her off. I think she's great. I'm happy to have her back, and I was happy to have Florence Pugh. I thought she did a great job playing that, because you watched the Fighting with My Family documentary on YouTube, right? That it was based on.
I didn't see it until after the fact, but yeah,
it was really good. So I was excited to see it, and what I was shocked. Let me give you what I didn't like. What I'm gonna give you this face reaction, because I liked it. I liked Don't Worry, Darling. What I don't like was the runtime. They probably could have had a more aggressive edit.
What's the runtime?
2 hours and 10 minutes. So
that's a bit much.
They pulled the gimmick a little bit too much. And then the title. The title, because my concern was this is Olivia Wilde, I have no heat with her at all. I was worried that people were going to get distracted and think that this was kind of some kind of woke project, that it was like, I don't know, like feminism. I don't know. I don't really understand the woke thing. I got to tell you, I don't get it. I see people talk about it, but I don't really get it. So I feel like they could have nailed this with a better title. And then it didn't matter, because then Harry Styles spit on Chris Pine's penis, and then the game changed anyway.
I loved all those Chris Pine memes that were coming out of that.
Yeah, that was like, why did he's like, yeah, remember that time you threw a bloody goat on him?
Yeah.
And they inserted a goat in his face. But so other than that, those are my two notes of what I didn't like. I thought the movie was great. I really enjoyed it. We are going to talk a little bit about a swerve. It was more sexual than I ever expected it to be.
See, I was wondering about that, because I heard that was part of the heat.
Oh, man.
That was part of the heat that Miss Flo and Miss Olivia had with each other. I'm not making those names. That's what they called each other on Twitter or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that they got into it with each other? Well, all I know is she made this very stereotypical 1950s dinner, and then he came home, and he threw her on the table, and she was for dinner, if you know what I mean. And like more than I expected. I was like, whoa. And I had Jack with me, and I was kind of like, and I looked over at him, and he looked at me like, is this really happening right now? Because like it wasn't.
I did hear about that scene.
Yeah, he definitely. So that threw me, and it was like 3 times, dude. We watch her come to climax 3 times in Don't Worry, Darling. So I can see why she's not worried. But other than that, dude, so this actually had, if I had to sum this film up, it had clearly it had the Truman Show vibe. You picked up that in the trailer, right? Truman Show. I feel like this is something that Jordan Peele could have played with a little bit. It kind of lived in that neighborhood. Very Twilight Zone, for sure. The performances were great. Harry Styles, I mean, I'm not his audience, so I didn't really know anything about him, but I think he did a great job. Chris Pine played he was going to be a heel. It gave to the vibe that he's doing something great. He's doing something great. We're going to start with this victory. It's called victory. We're going to start with this victory community, and then after that, we're going to take over the world. But all you have to do is stay home and please your husband, and then your husband goes to work, and then you just take care of everything. So right now, you're like, okay, is it going to be some kind of weird, the best time in America? And you hear this before, was the 50s, when the wife stayed home and the husband went to work.
Sure.
And Alamo leaned into that with their pre-show of just like, do you know how far a woman who stays home, let's watch it and fast forward technology to show you how hard it was, and most husbands couldn't do it. So they leaned into that wokeness, where I feel like they could have leaned into the other thing, because it started getting into Westworld. I don't think you guys watch the series. You don't watch the series.
I haven't. I mean, I watched the first 2 seasons. I haven't
Yeah.
seen the second two.
Yeah, that it really started leaning to that, and this is where I'm going to start to tiptoe into the spoilers. So, the whole thing is, they say don't ever go to your husband's office. Do not leave. You can go on the trolley, you can go shopping, but never go when they go to work. In the beginning, when all the husbands left at the same time, all the wives were waving, and the husbands left, and then you just saw them driving in a desert like they were driving to a bunker, and you had no idea what was happening, and then they were just gone all day. So then, of course, one of the wives gets a little bit curious, and she goes out there, and then they start labeling her as crazy because you're like, the Chris Pine character is like, he's not being honest with us, he's lying to us, he's using us, this is like a cult. And then she kills herself, but when she kills herself, Florence Pugh witnesses it, but then she's like, no, you didn't see that, she just slipped and fell. But it's like, she was on the roof and she cut her throat and then jumped off the roof. Like, no, she slipped and fell. She's quite embarrassed, so she moved.
Really? Wow.
So it gets crazy. So this is where it starts to get, all right, you ready? You ready?
Yeah.
This is a big spoiler. This is going to change it for you.
Okay.
So I'm a little nervous. You know how I get really, look, I'm shaking. I don't like giving away spoilers. But this is what YouTube is for, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So,
this is exactly what YouTube was made for.
So Florence Pugh is in the trolley. She sees a plane crash. And like, do you see that plane crash? And the bus driver's like, I don't see anything. This is not my route. I'm not going over there. And she hops off. She starts running. She runs up to where the husband's office is. She puts her hands. She puts her hands on the glass. A bunch of weird, like that's when you see a bunch of swirly, weird stuff. And then she wakes up in bed. So like, what the hell just happened? And then after that, she starts losing her mind, and she starts challenging Chris Pine. So he sees that she's starting to wake up from whatever this reality is. So then they have a dinner party. He comes to the house, and she starts challenging them. Like, how did you meet? It's like, oh, you met at a train? We met on a train. So they notice that all the couples there have the same story of like how they met, how they got there, what they do for a living. They have the same story. So she loses it, and her husband gets pissed at her. So then Harry Styles, she's like, there's something wrong here. We got to move. And then he's like, okay, we'll move. We'll leave. They get in the car to leave. And then he's like, I'm sorry. And then these people in a red suit come and pull her away. And then they throw her on her table like they're doing electric shock treatment. And then as they're doing the shock treatment, you start flashing to another world where Alice, Florence Pugh character, is a doctor. And Harry Styles is just like this her unemployed boyfriend. And like, what the hell is just happening? Now this is a complete, like, is this like multiverse stuff? But it slowly starts to come out that, here it is. Here's the spoiler. Turn away if you're ready.
Spoil it.
Yep. This is a virtual reality prison for some people, but some people are there by choice. So when they flash to Harry Styles, the Harry Styles character, he's watching a YouTube video called Operation Chaos. And as they're watching the chaos, they're like, you know what? You're just a victim of society. You can't get a job. You're not able to live up your potential. There's so much bullshit in this world. Let me take you to a world where you don't have to deal with the bullshit, and you get to live the life you want to live. But the problem was, he gets to do that, but he wants to bring his wife with her, and she doesn't know. So this doctor, they like kidnap her. She's like chained to a bed, Clockwork Orange style, with these things over her eyes, feeding her that virtual reality. He's next to her willingly in this reality, and that's when they jump to this 1950s ideal reality. But she was, in the flashback when she was getting shocked, they were showing she's overworked. She worked like massive shifts, and she's like, I only got 4 hours sleep, and I got to go to work in 6 hours. So he thought he was doing her a favor by putting her in this ideal reality, but her real body is shackled in a bed. And then, so all this reality is, some of them are NPCs, some of them are people that are there by choice, and some of them are victims. So a lot of them, the husbands brought their wives there that are basically holding their wise prisoner because it kind of does a mind wipe on you. And you know who's in this? And it's ironic. It's the same dude from WandaVision.
Which dude?
Oh man, I can't think of his name. We'll pull up his face if we can. But he was the one neighbor. He was the shorter guy. Oh, I can't think of his name. But anyway, he was in it. And that's what gave me the WandaVision vibes because I'm like, oh my God. So here's the thing too. And then you start getting into Freddy Krueger stuff because like, so now she realizes that this reality is not real and she's trapped in there. And then she starts finding out the rules that if you die in this reality, you can die in real life. And she accidentally, man, I feel terrible giving these spoilers. I don't know if I want to give any more, but because I feel like I gave a lot.
Yeah.
But she starts figuring out the rules of this reality, and now her whole thing is she has to try to escape this reality because if they find out she knows the rules, they're going to kill her because they don't want to blow. It's a virtual reality cult is what this is. And so did you get any of that stuff I'm saying?
No, I get it.
From the trailer, though? Like, did you pick up that that's what was happening?
I mean, it's not overt in the trailer, but I mean, that was where I would be expecting it to go. It's just something like that. Not necessarily virtual reality, but some kind of Stepford Wives.
Yeah, that's what Mike just said.
Yeah,
Stepford
exactly.
Wives is a the Village was. I was expecting the Village. I was expecting like, okay, they're doing some testing and they want to, if they have to rebuild society, this is what they're gonna.
Yeah.
The ideal time of bringing back society at this time. But man, it was great. And Florence Pugh she was awesome. She's so good in this. So I don't know what kind of heat it actually did well. So they think the crotch spit actually did okay. It didn't hurt it.
Yeah. I mean, any PR is good PR.
I think what's going to hurt it is its runtime because everything I just explained, you find out in the last 30 minutes. So you basically have 90 minutes of them playing, like milking this gimmick. They are just milk it, milk it, milk it, milk it, milk it. They were milking the gimmick. And like, okay, I need you to reveal, because to me, the trailer already was beginning the milking. And now I'm in the film. You got to start leading me to what this is going to be.
Yeah.
And they waited a long time to do that. So I think a different title and a different runtime, and this film, it needs multiple viewings for sure.
Yeah.
There was a lot of stuff they could have cut. There was a lot of visuals. They went for the wacky visual. They definitely went for art house feel, like when they jumped from different realities, the fake blood splotches, and they had these dancers. They could have, like, a lot of that could have been cut. But all in all, man, again, I dug this film. Like, I knew something about it I was going to like, but I'm also a huge mark for The Truman Show, and that's the closest comparison. The Truman Show meets WandaVision.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's about where I would have expected it to go. I know this is kind of an unorthodox review because you're just kind of like spoiling the movie for me.
I know.
But honestly, it's just one of those things. I thought it was going to be some sort of Stepford Wives alternate reality kind of a thing. I'll still see it. I'm gonna check it out at some
Yeah,
point.
because I think you can still see it, and even though I kind of told you where it's going, and I know Mike is also not. He's not a anti-spoiler either. And I think since this is going to take multiple viewings anyway, it's okay. Asif Ali, if you want to Google his name, Asif Ali, he's from WandaVision and plays almost the same exact character in Don't Worry, Darling. The same vibe. So maybe that's why I already got... He was in Wrecked, which I loved Wrecked. He was in Wrecked, and he was so good in that. But that's why I got that vibe. But I just wish it was a little bit shorter, because if it was a little bit shorter, I'd go see it again in theaters just to kind of like, there's going to be a lot of stuff you catch. Remember watching The Game with Michael Douglas and Sean Penn?
Yeah.
And how fun that was to go back and see the little Easter eggs that they hid in there. I think there's going to be a lot of those in here. But great casting. This cast really was a very, very handsome looking cast. For sure that they really did capture that idyllic time. Have you heard like a lot of like, there's a lot of certain generations that believe like that was the peak of America before the hippies, that was the best time.
I mean, that's what Trump said.
That was the best time. And you know what was great? Before, if you go see it at Alamo, they showed the Flintstones commercial pushing Winston's.
Oh, with cigarettes. Yeah, I love that commercial. Was there a lot of smoking in this movie?
There was a ton of smoking in
Yeah, I
this
love
movie.
that. I love it when movies have a bunch of smoking. I don't smoke anymore, but I still like seeing it in movies.
Yeah, no, there was a ton of smoking in this movie. So I don't know. I feel like I think you should go see this in theaters and just be prepared for the runtime.
Yeah, I mean, movies are too long as it is.
Yeah, that's
general.
a big part of this. Is it really just, to me, it was very distracting because I'm like, I'm already ready to know. You already kind of lured me in with the gimmick, and you lured me in with all this stuff. Don't make me wait a little bit longer. And they made me wait a little bit longer than they should have, and it got a little distracting.
Some movies got to be 105 minutes, and that's it. That should be the cutoff.
Yeah.
1 hour, 45 minutes, I think, is plenty of time for you to tell a story. Some can be longer. I get it. You know, you've got epics.
This 2 hours, 3 minutes is the runtime, not including credits.
Oh, well, that's not so bad.
Yeah, 2 hours, 3 minutes. So let me follow it. Yeah, it did really
But still,
well.
1 hour, 45, I think, is the sweet spot.
Yeah, so it was Alice and Jack Chambers, a young, happy couple in the 50s. And it just really did have that. I was really surprised that this was technically VR. And they still didn't really fully explain how this was a VR.
Yeah.
Like, they showed the gimmicks over the eyes, but, like, if you saw those sex scenes in this movie, you're like, okay, wait, how is everything else getting involved in this? Because you only showed me the eye gimmicks, and you showed me, like, her shackled to her bed.
Yeah.
You didn't show me what happened.
Yeah.
And they kind of didn't explain. So the whole thing is when the husbands go to work, they were actually leaving the virtual reality to go to work in real life to pay this guy, Chris Pine's character, flip the bill to pay for the VR.
I see.
So they really did go to work.
So where did Harry Styles work?
Harry Styles, they never said where he worked, but in the flashback, he was unemployed and she was working, and that was bothering him. So he's like, you know what? I got to get the job. You need a break. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to brainwash you, chain you to her bed, and make you dream of a perfect life.
Yeah. Something about that seems off to me. I feel like most, even Harry Styles had to be psyched to be married to Florence Pugh, and she's a doctor.
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And
Why would you want to go virtual reality on that?
Yeah, he was home.
Just stick it out. You don't have a job. You don't even have to work.
Well, he did try to creep up behind her, and she's like, stop. You got to take a shower. I'm tired. He's like, well, in the VR, we're doing it like 3 or 4 times a day. And yeah, they really lean into that too. It's like the neighbor's like, oh yeah, I live next to them. They really like each other. So it was like super heightened. The sexuality was way more heightened than I expected.
Yeah.
So
is like the social politics of it sound really strong? I mean, it sounds like they're really driving that home.
Well, that's what my
narrative.
concern is. So that's what concerned me is it was clear that the husband characters more than likely kidnapped the wife's character, and they had to take care of them. But there were other characters, and I'm not going to say who because I don't want to spoil it, but there are other characters that are in this reality that are there voluntarily for different reasons. Like Harry Styles was like, oh, I'm not working, I don't have a job, she works too hard, so we're going to flip the script, and she thinks I go to work and she's going to be a homemaker and she's going to be home. But there's other people like, I'm just here because I lost my kids in real life, and now in this reality my kids can be here forever. So her kids are just NPCs. They're NPCs. They're just bots. But she's like, I get to keep them forever here. So some people are there voluntarily. It's not just for the husbands kidnapping the wives, but it felt like there was a big part of that. And that was my concern. I felt like it was going to really distract from what I like, the sci-fi aspect of this. I like the Twilight Zone feel, the Jordan Peele feel. I like that. I don't want it to get distracted by any kind of woke agenda. But it was a different time, man. Like you said, smoking was for cartoon characters, and they were telling you how important it was for the wife to stay home and take care of the household, and the man to go back and work. I don't think that's where they're saying now that is the best way to go, but she probably was leaning into, hey, this is how they did it back then. Basically, the wives were prisoners, right? And that's where the whole 60s, the hippies movement, the kids of these self-made prisons, the Leave It to Beaver feel, were like, I'm not going to be that. I do not want to be a prisoner of that. In this movie, they just literally made them prisoners
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah, it still seems like a stretch.
It does, right?
Seems like a stretch. I'm still can't get past the fact that, Harry Styles is married to a beautiful doctor and he says, no, I'd rather work a shit job and live in virtual reality.
Yeah, and they did go out of their way to, like, make him in the virtual reality. He was a lot more handsome. He was getting promoted left and right. He had a lot of Brill cream in his hair. He smoked cool cigarettes. They ate, they drank, they had martini parties. It was fun. But in the reality, he had, like, the wool cap on his head. He didn't shave that much. He looked like he was a little beat up. He was, walking around the house, in like Chandler Bing mode where, I'm in sweatpants stage. He, wearing one sock. He definitely looked a little bit more beat up. So it wasn't the doctor that you would think, because they made a point, like when he came home, she's like, you didn't pay the bill again. It's like, how do you know that? Like, the water's not hot. So she wasn't a well-to-do doctor. She was like, she wasn't making a lot of money. So I don't know. She was just like a med student. So, but again.
Still. That's my response. Still.
When you see this, when you see, yeah. Like, look, dude, she looks
She's
great.
definitely got to be the hottest actress. And when I say hottest, I mean like most popular and sought after actress right now.
Yeah.
And she's doing amazing work and she looks great. And like, yeah, I don't get it. I'm not seeing, I mean, Harry Styles obviously is, what does he do? Is he a singer?
He's a singer, right? Yeah. Yeah, I didn't know. It was like, yeah, I don't know.
He's a singer? Okay. Well, he's obviously doing, but I'm just saying, it seems just like a leap of logic. But whatever, that's what movies are about. Suspension of disbelief.
Yeah, there could have been a little bit more of a. I do agree with you there that they could have gave you a little bit more meat on why. That seems like really, really aggressive to, like, oh man, you work really hard. Let me brainwash you and chain you to a bed. That'll stop you from working so hard. So I feel like that could have been. Man, I feel dirty giving these spoilers. I feel like I'm dirty, but like, yeah, I'm kind of glad in a way that I kind of got it set up, because it took forever to get to that point. It really did. I really wish the editor would have been like, Olivia, we got to lose 20 minutes.
Yeah.
We'll put it on the DVDs. We'll put it on the extras. We'll have a director's cut. But I feel like if they would have made this a little bit tighter and a little bit of a different title. Because I get the title, right? Don't worry, darling. Everything's going to be okay. I'm going to chain you to a bed and brainwash you. But it could have been something, I don't know, something along the lines of like what Westworld says. When you say Westworld, it captures like maybe they could have left it into like idyllic or something like that, like the Truman Show. It tells a story. The Don't Worry, Darling, I don't think it told the story of what this film was actually going to be.
Did Florence Pugh make this face? Because I feel like this is one of the things that really gets her over, is that she has the best sad face. This is just like if you made a sad Barbie, this would be the face that it made. Ultimate sad face.
Well, when Harry Styles' head was where it was, she was making the complete opposite face.
Oh, right.
And there was another time when they snuck into Chris Pine's room, and there was a lot of people out there, and they did it again. And Chris Pine was like around the corner watching, and like they didn't even stop. So they definitely, like, if this was Total Recall, they had her like all jazzed up, like ready. She was raring to go, and she was too tired in the real world, but she was not too tired in this fantasy world.
Yeah, something about that seems off to me. But I mean, okay. Well, yeah. I'll still watch it.
You know how Stepford Wives, I feel like, is somewhat in the universal zeitgeist, where you say that and it captures an image. I think this has that. Like this, I tell you, we talk about this on here all the time. There's movies you see in cinema. There's movies you can wait till they're at home. There's movies you don't even have to rent it. Wait till streaming channel shows it for free. I think this is worth a cinema view. I think this is worth a shot in the cinema. There's a lot of beautiful shots. Like the cinematographer in you is going to really enjoy a lot of the choice.
Olivia Wilde, the director.
Yeah,
I mean she seems like she's a good director. Her last movie was really good. So
yeah, That's
But
the
yeah.
only, like I said, it was more about.
I'm in for the Florence Pugh sad face if it's in there.
She has a lot of different faces in there.